I came upon this stand, and it was like, tell your story in 5 minutes. And I thought to myself, what could a man possibly say in 5 minutes that would have any impact, on anything? And I thought, if there's anything that I thought about in life was like not to get too deep, So like, I just want to, have some fun because, I went to sleep and I had a dream. I dreamed that I was in paradise. And anyways, I woke up here in Hilo, Hawaii. So there's a couple pieces that'll tell you a little bit about me, yeah? Okay, here we go. This one's called Railroad of Life. Well, walk the railroad of life, lover, man, gambler at night. When I'm feeling down, look right into the sun. The times I feel like a clown, I pick myself up off the ground. Wipe the tears from my heart, say what the hell is my life? I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad of life. I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad of life. Well, I had a girl in another town, she broke my heart and she let me down. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, what matters is my attitude. Feels like I'm living in a dream, crazy world of make-believe. Got another chance and I'm gonna fight with each new day at the morning light. I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad of life.
Hi, my name is Susan. This is the first time anybody has ever asked me to document my life story. I was born on a dark and stormy night in Des Moines, Iowa, 1958, and I'm going to do the Reader's Digest condensed version of this. Basically, at the age of 18, I moved to San Diego, fell in love with the ocean, fell in love with the beach, and lived there for a number of years, went to college, went to graduate school, fell in love, got married, moved up to Northern California, got away from the beach. Couldn't stand it, too damn cold. So about 3 years ago, through divine intervention, I swear, I was able to come here to the Big Island, here to Kona. And I went to a retreat center. And the reason why I went there is a friend of mine who knew me suggested that I would love Hawaii, love to live here. And I'd never thought about it before. So I came to Kona, and it was even better than I had imagined. And pretty much at that point made the decision to move here to Hawaii. So started working on it, started saving my money, started looking into what would be involved in the move. And made some really great progress, started saving money, started working on quarantine process for my animals to get here, passed all the licensing exams necessary in Hawaii to work on my career. And then in the middle of all my plans, a year ago, January, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And that took a little time off from my move to Hawaii, but a month after my surgery, I was coming over here and taking a licensing exam and still working towards coming here. Well, I got here about 2 weeks ago, arrived in Oahu, stayed there for a few days with my animals, and then came here. And I've been here for about 2 weeks. And I'm still walking around saying, I can't believe I'm here. I really made it. I finally made it. I'm really here.
What I want to talk about is about the Learning Center and of myself, not knowing how to read and write. And now coming to the Learning Center and starting to learn. And all this time that I miss things that I didn't have to miss. One of the first things, which I never did do before, is had a list, grocery list, and go in a store and follow the list of buying things, which I never could. But now I can. And there's a lot of other things that for me is the first. Like the computer. I never did go on a computer before. And today, now I've been on a computer. I never did write letters before, and now I believe I wrote about 4 or 5 of them. And before I go to the stores, I just take the receipt and walk out. And I went to Walmart and they overcharged me, and I went back in the store. I read the receipt and went back in the store, and I gave the lady the receipt, and I said something wrong. And she figured if she looked at it, then they had to reimburse. Whereas before I never used to do that. I don't know how much times I got cheated, but that's one of the important things for everybody to, I guess, be aware. I can go in the stores, I can go in bottles, I can sit down and look at the books. I can read the books. People look at me sitting down, what I'm doing in a kiddish place and reading books. But it's fun. Even I like science, I'm fascinated in science. And now that I know how to read, I'm becoming more aware and more words that I did not understand. And now I understand it. Or when I get stuck, when I come to the learning center over here, and I ask about it, we go back and we look it up and find out what is the word, what it means. It's just fun now. I just want to tell everybody that have fun reading and learning how. Even for the kids, we get out in the library and learn how. Visit your local library. If you're in trouble, ask. Go out and ask. Don't be ashamed of what you are or what you want to do.
I'm obviously a minority in this country, and as I said previously, even though I personally haven't really felt the real overt kind of racism that other groups like blacks and Native Americans have experienced, you could still feel that you're not really accepted as equal when I was, growing up and going to school in California. So it was partly to try and see, well, in Hawaii, at least the non-white people are, at least not, if not a majority, a plurality, and I kind of felt like, well, maybe I can try that environment and see how it feels. And it's been a good experience, and that's why I have stayed. I guess my current passion, what I like to do is that I like to develop some lightweight bamboo housing that's more attuned to the environment here, because in Hawaii you don't have the harsh environment that you do have. You don't have snow, although there are other considerations. And it's just my whole general idea that buildings are overbuilt. They use too much materials and too much resources, and it's time to really try and develop something that's more using more local resources, such as bamboo, where you can grow instead of importing tons and tons of steel and glass and lumber all from the mainland, using all these energy and resources.
Okay, well, one thing that I would like to talk about would be teens, like how adults look at us. And I feel like sometimes we're looked down upon, because like when you turn the TV on, you see like all these shows and talk shows about how teens are like a disgrace to society, and like how we should be put into boot camps and stuff. I just don't know, but I think that we have hope, we have a chance, and we are the future generation, and we can prosper in life if you guys just believe in us, if adults would just believe in us and treat us like regular human beings, not like outcasts. Because it's like when we're born and everything is so easy, like when you're in kindergarten and first, second, third, and then once you hit 8th, 9th, 10th and you're a teenager, problems start happening. It's like you try to find self-acceptance, and like when you're in high school you forget why you're there. Like you're supposed to be there to learn, but then all this pressure is like placed on you, and then you forget your reason why you're there. You start looking for who you really are and forget the real person.
Well, my name is Jarrett. I'm originally from Kaneohe on Oahu. I've moved here to the Big Island for a few years now. It's a lot more peaceful here on this island. Get away from the traffic problems they have on Oahu. It's pretty pretty bad. I enjoyed here on this side of the island in Hilo. It kind of reminds me of the windward side on Oahu. What's most important things to me is people getting along with each other, sharing ideas, and I like to say sharing mana'o, knowledge and adventures, activities. The way I see things is the more input you have of various people and their backgrounds on a certain subject, the better picture that can be painted from that subject, because people look at things in different ways and have different ways of interpreting things. And by listening to other people's explanations and their ideas and their methods, you get a better picture of the subject that you're talking about. For me, another reason for being here is helps me to research family roots. I have a lot of family that are originally from here, and I've never been here except just recently. So it gives me a time to do research and find grave sites and take pictures and things like that. I think that's pretty neat for my children and eventually grandchildren and so forth.
I currently live in Hilo, Hawaii, but contrary to popular belief, I'm not from here. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, or the Detroit area. I was born and raised there, moved away to Illinois, and since then I've moved and just traveled and such, different places. My second home is in Chicago, Illinois. Great town, but I don't know if I could ever go back. Since then I've lived in Costa Rica, I've lived in Georgia, Maryland, traveled different places, and now the reason why I came here was because I'm tired of traveling. The thing with traveling is you keep starting over, and you keep ending things, and just the whole process gets old because you forget where your roots are, and you forget what's constant and real, and things are so temporary that, I don't know, you hope for like some consistency sometimes, or constancy. So I'm studying to be a teacher here at the University of Hawaii. I feel my time, sometimes, I don't know if I really came to be a teacher or if I really came to see Hawaii.
Hello, my name is Chiem Kaim. I originally came from Vietnam, and I have lived in America since 1960. In 1960, after I finished high school, I went straight to America, Utah. I attended college there for 4 years. And in 1964, after I graduated from Brigham Young University in Provo, I got a job in Schofield Barracks, teaching Vietnamese to the American troops. At that time, Johnson was sending 25th Division to Vietnam to fight the American War. Anyway, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about my life from then on. When I was in Hawaii, in Honolulu, I met my husband right away, and we fell in love. And when I first met him, I was on the way home to Vietnam. And then I know when I first met him, he's the one I want to marry. And then we were married 3 months after we met. And my husband at that time was a graduate student at the Manoa campus. And we lived there for 3 years, 1964 to 68, 4 years, I'm sorry. And then at that time, 68, he got his PhD and he got a job at Penn in Philadelphia. So we moved there. So our life was very stable. I mean, nothing. Nothing unusual happened. Our two sons were born, and we lived there for 8 years. And in 1972 and 73, we moved to Seoul, Korea for 1 year, where my husband taught at Yong University Political Science. And we lived there because he got an exchange, a Fulbright scholarship to teach there. And then on the way back, my husband got a chance to stop in Vietnam and met with my family and the two children. And then we went back to Philadelphia, and in 1976, we moved to the Big Island. Hawaii is a special place for me because that's where I met my husband, and then our first child was born in Honolulu, and then in 1976 we moved to the Big Island, and we live here until I live here until now 2000. But in 1992, my husband became ill with cancer, and 3 months later he passed away. My life revolved around my husband and my children. His death was very devastating to me, and I survived, but the first 3 years was very difficult for me to live without him. And but right now he's been gone 7.5 years. I felt that I could move on with my life, but sometimes it's very difficult. But I have my two children for emotional support, and I became a grandmother second time. And right now I'm still live in Hawaii, in Big Island, but I hope someday to sell my house and move to be with my children, close to them. For now, my time was dividing between visiting them and traveling, because I found traveling is very exciting. Well, that's the story of my life, and I hope you could understand me, because after 40 years living in Hawaii, in America, I still have my terrible Vietnamese accent. I hope you understand me. Aloha.
I'm Betsy Mitchell. I was born on Oahu in Waialua, which is on the North Shore, and lived there for a number of years until I was in the 2nd grade when we moved into Honolulu. Those were the days when Honolulu was very small. The tallest building was the Aloha Tower, and if the ships came in, we would go out in the there was a boat that took you out, and you'd climb up the rope ladder to visit with the people on board the ship. And that was great. You'd come back in with them, and you'd see Honolulu with just a few lights. And as you rounded the pier, the band would play Aloha Oi. Oh, it was wonderful. And it played all kinds of Hawaiian music, and leis were passed out. Oh, it's marvelous. I wish they had that boat day again. And later, after I was married, and I was married just before the war, met the man I married just before the war started, and we were married in 1943. And so that means we've been married for 57 years, which is rather unusual for people these days. And we came back from a tour of duty on the mainland. My husband had 2 tours on the Far East, and or in the far, well, Guadalcanal and places like that, and into the first flying and dropping bombs in Japan, which ended the war very quickly. And then we lived on Oahu. And I went to work for the blood bank. And I was there for 25 years, known as Fangs the Blood Lady. And that was fun because the greatest people in the world are people who donate blood. That's something that only you can do. And it's so important. You can't manufacture it. And so when I retired in 1952, we moved here, which was where I'd always wanted to live anyway. And it's been the best thing we ever did.
When I turned 17, I joined the service, and I ended up on nuclear submarines, and I went to schools all over the United States, Groton, San Diego, California. I ended up in Hawaii, and then I was on the submarine, nuclear ballistic missile submarine called the Ethan Allen. And I ended up becoming a radioman, so I sat at a teletype on this nuclear submarine waiting for World War III. And so that's what I did for 4 years. Out of that 4 years, I spent 1 year living underwater in this God-forsaken machine. So, to make a long story short, when I got out of that submarine finally after all those years, I kind of like didn't want to have nothing to do with society anymore because I viewed things as nuclear targets, and so therefore I kind of had to get away. I didn't want to have jobs and get in with into buildings and things like that because it was like not good. At any rate, when I got out of the service, I became a chicken fighter, and I was a chicken fighter for 1 year. And I fought chickens with this old man chicken fighter in Oahu. His name was Baboy Carrickle. And he was like one of the greatest Oahu chicken fighters. And so we fought chicken until God knows what, that we fought. And I moved to the Big Island here and with a girl I'd met from over there, and her name was Donna Ambrose. And then we moved to Volcano up here, actually. Our first house was in Namakani Peo, which is right down the road, and we lived in a tent for months. And then we moved into the jungle down here off Lee County Road, down in the subdivision down there. And I built a tree house, and we lived in there for, must have been about a year, real close to a year, and she got pregnant. And so she was like 7-8 months pregnant, and we were living in the trees, and we had no water. We had water, but we used rainwater into a 55-gallon barrel kind of thing. And then, our showers were like 5-gallon buckets, and we'd dump 5-gallon buckets of water over us, and that's how we took showers, or we'd hitchhike all the way down to Hilo and go to
The life story in 5 minutes of John Montiel Despacio, formerly, other names, not the only name I've ever used. They relate. Born in Long Beach, California, 1932. Extremely troubled childhood, extremely. I was raised by a couple of barbarians whose character of violence knew no limit. I've been told by some that it's amazing that I even made it to the ripe age, 66. I can still get it up. My God, 5 minutes. How can I carry on? I thought I could have talked for days. Glendale, California. Probably the most misbegotten tale of my life. If I could just have been raised an orphan, everything would have been okay. Glendale, California. Most of my time there. The last all-white community in the state of California. My father put up $1,800 to help keep the first black man out of Glendale, California. Can you believe it? We had a colored maid in our house. She only worked on weekends. She had to be out of town. They had an operating sundown law in Glendale that said that in 1957, all blacks and Orientals had to be out of town by sundown. When the banquet was over, my father would have me drive the maid to the last streetcar. And I had a note for the police And I had to stay with her until she was on the police car, on the streetcar. And if the police came by, they would stay there until. My God, we're 2 minutes down the line and I haven't even talked about prison in Costa Rica.
My name is Lara Yong, and I'm a third generation Chinese. My mother was born here, but my grandmother came from southern China, and my grandfather, and they were the plantation workers that were imported here for immigrants that wanted to work in the sugarcane plantations. This was in 18 something when they came, and I was born in 1916, so I'm an old lady now. I was born at home in one of the ranch lands. My mother was a cook for one of the plantation managers, and my father did the farming and yard work and all that, and we lived on a ranch up in the mountains of the northern island of this Hawaii in Kahua Ranch. And when it was time for me to be born, my father went over to call the ranch manager's wife to come and help my mother deliver the baby. So when she came, I was already here in this world, and she says, "Owie, you know, where's the hot water and all that?" Anyhow, that's how we started living on a farm, and from then on, my mother helped deliver other babies. And when I moved here in less than 6 months, I was called to go and hostess at the hotel at Volcano House. And we just overlooked the crater and see the eruption going. And the eruption, the most spectacular eruption, was Kilauea Iki. It went up 1,900 feet high, and we could see it from our hotel, and that was the most popular tourist attraction in those days. And I loved it. I just loved it.
Walk the railroad a lot, lover, man, gambler at night. When I'm feeling down, look right into the sun. Times I feel like a clown, I pick myself up off the ground, wipe tears from my heart, say what the hell is my life? I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad of life. I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad of life. I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad of life. I walk the railroad, I walk the railroad.